I'm going to bring on our first guest here in the modern age of pitching. That the one and the only pitching ninja, aka Rob Friedman. Rob, it's really good to have you here.
It's really good to be here. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Perfect.
You sound great. This is actually the first time that I've spoken to you out loud. We've talked a lot on Twitter and DMs and stuff. This is actually the first time face to face talking to you. It's great to meet you. You know.
It is great. We know each other for so long.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's kind of funny that you can know somebody for years and just never have met them. We still haven't met in person. I mean, this is close.
Right. That's true. There's so much of the Pitcher List staff I haven't met, but I feel like I know them as well. By the way, if you don't know Pitching Ninja, well, we've got this fantastic intro for you. I don't know how you don't. Formerly Snorlax's daddy, Rob Friedman is an MLB and ESPN pitching contribution analyst. I can say words.
Yeah, whatever.
No. I want to say that one again, is an MLB and ESPN pitching contribution analyst who has been delivering some of the best pitching gifts on the internet for years now. Rob is also the founder and CEO of the Flat Ground app and Flat Ground Bats, two Twitter accounts helping to prevent pitchers and hitters from falling through the cracks. You can follow him on Twitter at Pitching Ninja. So great to have you here.
It is awesome to be here. I told Eno I was going to be drinking, so
there we go. Awesome. Of course, joining us is Eno Sarris, who actually did not drink. He drank non-alcoholic beer for this event.
I was going to go run and get one in a second.
Well, anyway, Eno Sarris is a part-time sandwich photographer and consumer, part-time beer purveyor, full-time baseball analyst. When asked what baseball writer has had the biggest impact on their life or has been the most forthcoming with helpful advice, few in the industry don't respond with resounding Eno Sarris. Is a baseball analytics writer over at The Athletic, but you may also know him from his work at Fangraphs, ESPN, Fox, MLB.com, SB Nation, and countless others. You can find him on Twitter at Eno Sarris. Welcome. Thanks for being here.
I'm a big fan of both of you guys. I was just thinking actually during that presentation how important right now Flat Ground app and the Flat Ground Bat app have become because nobody can get scouts out anywhere. Nobody can travel. We're not having the showcases we normally have, which are kind of problematic anyway from a different sort of set of reasons. But, so kudos to you, Rob. The Flat Ground is really great idea and really important right now to get people, get people out there.
Thanks, my man. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny when you start something and it ends up being actually better than what you thought when you started it. That kind of never happens. By the way, your thread on the pocket sandwich thing still stands out to me as one of the greatest things.
Some of my greatest work.
It's outstanding.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right, so I have a lot of different ways that we can go with this. The way I see it, I just want to kind of just I don't know, have many tangents and just nerd out about pitching for a while. But I feel it's also important to just talk about your histories and how we've gotten to where we are now. I want to start with you, Eno. When did you realize that you would be focusing on baseball, but not just necessarily baseball writing, but actually being the guy for pitching analysis?
I don't know. One of the reasons that I am so into it is that I grew up in Atlanta between 1980. I came to this country from Germany and Jamaica in 1986. And so I grew up in Atlanta from like 86, 87 to like 94. And just saw a lot of great pitchers. And what was really cool about that time too was that each of those pitchers had their own kind of thing. Like each of them was great for a different reason. It was like the change up and control from Glavine. It was the, Maddox with all the sort of bend and the movement, but also the great command. And then Smoltz with the power stuff. So part of it then, part of it also, Pitch FX was coming to maturity right as I started writing about baseball. I started writing about baseball, around 2006, 2007. That's about 3-4 years into Pitch FX. And one of the things that you could do was separate yourself by kind of getting into pitch movement, pitch type analysis. I was one of the first to kind of try and break apart pitch types and talk about, the whiff on the slider is great. He's going to be great, that sort of deal. And then one big thing for me was Dan Straley, an interview with Dan Straley where I was talking to Sean Doolittle. And I was like, what are you doing with this changeup? He's got some new changeup. You got a grip on that? He's like, if you want to talk to somebody about grips, you got to go over and talk to my boy Dan Straley. And so it was really early in the clubhouse for me. And he kind of brought me over to Dan Straley, actually like walked me over and was like, hey, this kid wants to talk to you about grips. And Straley ran me through 17 or 18 different grips he'd gone through to find the changeup he wanted. And I got a sense of that camaraderie that exists, I think, between pitchers. I'm sure, you know, position players have it too, but like pitchers will show each other grips, you know, when Sabathia came to town, you know, Bumgarner went over, and these guys are like future Hall of Famer types. He wanted to know how he threw his cutter. You know, he wanted to see grips. So I just got a sort of a view into that that camaraderie, the way that like pitchers will share information about mechanics and grips. And I like that. I thought it was really cool.
I mean, the way you're talking about also the PitchFX stuff, not to mention that Dan Straley is the man. Oh my Lord, he is incredible. But I remember actually meeting you in 2016 in New York in the Fangraphs meetup. I don't know if you remember like the thing that I needed to ask you. It was I didn't know. I knew what X move was and I knew what Z move was, but I didn't know what this other move was. And I remember like the moment of enlightenment when you said, "Oh, that's the hypotenuse of the triangle." And I was like, "Oh my god!" But really, I mean, the whole analysis of being like, "Hey, let's instead of just talking about the shallow level of a pitcher, let's actually talk about his pitches and the pitch type stuff." And you were the one really pushing that, and that got me so addicted to it. That was so important for me, just getting into the sport again, and really embracing, right, pitchers are doing these specific things, and finally here's some stats that actually tells that story in an effective way. So really, really thank you from all of us for really diving into that, Eno. So Rob, I want to hear your story here. How did you get into baseball? I know that you're also a coach, and that kind of drove the beginning of Pitching Ninja, but I really want to hear that story and really how everything came to be.
Sure, it absolutely did. A funny thing with Eno, you mentioned Atlanta. I'm in Atlanta now, and went to Braves. You know, had season tickets to the Braves since like '91. So it's probably saw you at the stadium, maybe. And coincidentally, Straley and I were DMing last night about the rosin in the KBO. So it was kind of an interesting topic and how different it is.
Really?
Yeah. So it's kind of, I mean, it was just a pitch geek conversation. But,
I mean, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what else are we going to do? So yeah, I started in coaching, and the cool thing is I kind of sucked as a player, which is a benefit if you're open-minded and you want to learn. So I didn't want to teach what I had learned growing up, because it obviously didn't do me very good, and had a kid that played. So I was, I wanted to learn everything I could, and I have a legal background. My thing is I want to learn, I want to take it apart. I don't fall for a lot of the scams or just even people that mean well, but they don't really, they did it. They're teaching stuff that they learned, but it doesn't necessarily work for everybody. So my thing was I wanted to really drill down, so I wasn't teaching anybody the wrong thing. So I kept asking questions, and luckily I asked questions of really smart folks. And the thing is, unlike a lot of people when they argue, I argue and I listen to the response, and I argued kind of to test things. So, like Kyle Bodie, Eric Cressy, Alan Jaeger, Lance Wheeler, all those guys are friends of mine. And I got to learn from, really creative minds and kind of take different things from different folks, test their views. And, and from that, I guess I coached travel ball at East Cobb for years, high school. My kid's playing at Georgia Tech now, so I get to watch it. I'm not coaching there. And it's the one thing that I wanted to make sure is once I learned all this stuff, because I thought that, I can do all this. I have the time and the energy to do it. I didn't want other parents to not have the benefit of what I learned, or other players to not have the benefit of what I learned. So I just wanted to share it. And I thought Twitter was a great place to do it. So I just kept sharing little things that I learned along the way. And then it just grew from there. So it was, sharing like little mechanic stuff and saying, hey, look, you may be hearing about balance point, but these guys aren't really doing that in real life, or they're doing this with their glove, or this guy, a tall pitcher does this, a shorter pitcher does this. So being able to point that out, and then going from that to grips, to tunneling type things to mental game stuff. It's a whole running the gamut of just trying to help everybody.
Right.
And then it turned into entertainment. I mean, then there's the entertainment part, which is, I mean, I got to keep myself sane. So I try to share funny things, and at least things I think are funny. I don't know if they're funny.
Are you kidding me?
I mean, I'm wearing my Ripper
the
shirt.
Audience and stuff. It's great. But I guess like I'm also really curious. I mean, watching all the gifts you put out and all the videos and everything, all I'm thinking in the back of my head is he must have the dopest setup at home for his kid to pitch. And is that right? Or I mean, what is your home setup for this?
Yeah, I mean, I that's the one thing I'm kind of lucky in. Like literally, when we were looking for a house in Atlanta, my wife said, "I think I found the perfect house," and I'm like, "Yeah, whatever." And she goes, "No, you can put a mound in the basement." I was like, "Shut up!" So, like, literally, my basement is 75 feet long, 40 feet wide, 13-foot ceilings, and I have a pitching mound, a full 60 foot 6 inches, a Rapsodo down there, radar guns, and a basketball hoop.
Wow.
I don't ask me why I have a basketball hoop.
This is like a dream basement, by the way. Oh my god!
Oh, it's sick,
anything
dude.
for this as a kid.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
So that was my thing. My thing was, if you never have an excuse not to practice, you're always going to do something. And plus, I just liked it. I liked coming home from work and doing something in the basement, throwing to my kid, or having. I mean, now I've had Georgia Tech kids over just to practice because they can't get in the facilities. So
wow,
I mean, it's kind of fun.
That's great. So Eno, so you started doing this, I believe, actually, like talking to players and really getting into this stuff. Correct me if I'm wrong. Around 2007, 2008, is that right, or is it a little bit later than that?
No, I got on Fangraphs around 2008. That's like I might have had a couple. Like they had blogger days at Citi Field.
Oh man!
So my first conversation ever was with Lucas Duda, and it was so boring I didn't publish it. But I bring it up sometimes to Lucas, and he's just like, I'm like, okay. I'm like, great. Lucas, I've been in the clubhouse for like 10 years, and you were my first interview. And he's like,
right.
Okay.
So,
but yeah, 2010, 2011, I got into the BBWAA. Cool. And that was a big difference because then I started regularly planning. I didn't have to. It's a really big deal, the BBWA, because it ensures your access, and it also keeps you out of this whole sort of pitch and like get approval process, which is really difficult. Because I wanted to talk to I remember in that time I was like, oh, I want to talk to Carlos Beltran about the Mets and the Giants and trades and being traded and I had to tell PR that, and PR like, okay, we'll go ask Carlos, and I'm like, they're gonna ask Carlos. Carlos will be like, who? Like, who wants to tell me from what site? The only way I got in was when like R.A. Dickey was like, look me up on Fangraphs, and I was like, oh, PR, come on. He said Fangraphs, come on, let me in. Oh, but once I got that access, it was different because I didn't have to ask for approval, and I could just come in, handle my business and get to talk to a lot of people.
Oh, that's great. So since then, I mean, we've been talking about this a lot. It's totally changed how pitchers develop and the information that we have. And you've seen it firsthand, what kind of tools were, I mean, I'm just trying to get an idea of the transition here. We didn't have this stuff when you first started, and now it's just, we have slow motion cameras. We have so much information. We're talking about spin rates. We're talking about everything is just exploding now. What was that like? Was it just a complete slope of a complete diagonal going up essentially? Or was it actually, no, this was the major shift right here. This is what happened. And then everyone started doing that.
The way, baseball works in terms of populations is, like some people graduate out and you get the young guys coming in. And so there's nothing that ever happens like once at a time. It's always like, oh, wait, the younger kids are all cool with this. Like, oh, wow. Like now when I start talking about TrackMan or spin rate or something, like they jump right in with me,
Sure.
So there's been, like when I first got in there, I got made fun of sort of famously by Eric Hosmer for like talking about ground ball rate. Since then, now ground ball rate is like probably the least dorky thing I'll say in a clubhouse. You know? Like, and I, you know, I had to learn from there that like you have to speak like coaches do. You have to use their terminology. You have to be able to speak the language of the clubhouse, and that's still true. So I can't go in there and start talking about correlations and some of the stuff that the stat community is used to. So I still had to learn that lesson. It's still a good lesson. But in terms of like the vocabulary and the things that they talk about now, it's totally different. And I wouldn't say that it like was a light switch. It was more like, oh, just a couple. Oh, look, you know, because and then I also think back to Dan Straley. So like and I'm reading Swing Kings by Jared Diamond.
Oh yeah, great.
And I'm reading about Craig Wallenbrock, and the thing that separated him was not necessarily that he like researched launch angle and he knew about this or that or anything. It was video. All he did was look at video and be like, and this is something that JD Martinez said too. Like, people told me to swing down on the ball, and then I was like watching video. I was like, Miguel Cabrera doesn't swing down on the ball. You know, like you were just saying, Rob, like, you know, sometimes you just have to look at the video and be like, no, you're talking about stuff that they're not doing. Like, why are you talking about this stuff? So, so I think the old school was video, and that's not really old school, but that's like when I first got in, I would talk to somebody about like, do you watch yourself on video? Do you watch your swing on video? What do you do? Do you compare like your current swing to an old swing, or do you compare your swing to another person's swing? How do you figure out someone who's like you? That was the kind of conversations I was trying to have early on. Now I can be like, you know, what are your comps? You know, like, are you trying to up your launch angle? Are you thinking about contact out in front? You know, everyone's a little bit more up to date on the research and has been having these conversations with their hitting coaches.
Definitely.
Their pitching coaches.
Yeah, and you're talking about video too. Now everyone has an ability to get video right away. They can just pull it out, have a friend watch them. I cannot tell you how much I would have loved video. I don't have a single video of me pitching like since high school or so, and I would love to have that.
Yeah,
like just something that said, okay, this is how bad I was. I just want
and like all the wrong things I was doing.
Oh man, I cannot tell you. I know what my mechanics are in my head, and I cringe every single time. I didn't know any of it really at the time. My pitching coaches were giving me all the general things and stuff, and had no idea. Like, no one told me about my back foot twisting. It took me until my senior year of college to really think about my back foot twisting. Like that was the whole idea, is that's how I push off. It's not the side of my foot pushing off, actually the toes and everything going off with the heel. Like I didn't even know that stuff. So it wasn't until after college and then actually reading a lot of your stuff, you know, and then just really diving into pitching and watching more of it, that I started remembering all this stuff, and then everything just started making more sense. And getting clearer, but I would have given anything for video. Oh my God. And I want to transition that into Rob, what you're doing obviously with the Flat Ground app and everything, but you can really attest to how much video has really changed things a lot. And how did you start seeing like, okay, you know what, maybe we should start taking more video, showcasing that a lot?
Well, really, I mean, what Eno said is 100% true. I mean, back at and in Jared's book, I lived all that stuff back on the Baseball Fever message boards, Let's Talk Pitching message boards. That's where Kyle and I got to know each other way back when. And I was a very early driveline guy because of that, because I knew he was on to something. But all we had was video. We didn't have anything else. And it was the key was breaking things down and looking at it. Now you have so much more. I mean, you have force plates and stuff that you didn't, I mean, we didn't dream about anything like that.
Right.
So yeah, it was all about video. Transitioning that now with the Flat Ground stuff. The ability to share video with everybody throughout the world. The cool thing is kind of breaking down barriers, not only in the US among, you know, my overall philosophy is for the sport to grow. Baseball can't just be a rich kid sport. It's not $500 bats and $400 gloves and $2,000 travel teams and $1,000 showcases. People can't. It's not fair. You want the best players to play, and it doesn't happen anywhere else in the world. So that was my original starting thing. That's why I wanted to do it. I saw my kid playing on teams, and you saw people having to use up vacation time to go to showcases with their kid, spending a ton of money they didn't have with the hope. No one wants their kid to, I mean, we always hear about these sports parents, but it's really about parents wanting the best for their kids, and they'll spend anything to do it. and they shouldn't have to. So that's the kind of thing that I kind of wanted to break down. But the side effect of it, and something I didn't think of, number one was the inefficiencies in affiliate ball, where you're having people that are kind of fell through the cracks, where they had their chance, they didn't make it for whatever reason. Maybe they're 22, 23, no one's looking at them, they want to get back in. Now they have a chance. There's no more Uncle Rico's where you kind of can sit there and go, I used to throw the ball, I could throw the ball over the mountains. I mean, it's just not now you have to prove it. There's video. You don't have an excuse. So that's one thing. But then also internationally, you have people in other countries that colleges can't. They don't have recruiting budgets that recruit in other countries. Mm-hmm. So one of the first flat ground successes was somebody in the Netherlands who posted a video of him throwing, it's like 6'4" dude throwing 89. And colleges jumped. He had like 29 offers because, they're not going to go out there to go get them. But if they see them, they can start saying, hey, if you get to the US, maybe we can do something. So it's breaking down barriers geographically as well as financially. It's all due to video.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And the root of video, I mean, now it's kind of funny because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Pitching Ninja began 2014. Is that right?
That is right.
And I still have etched in my mind the throwing star in the banner. I love it. And it wasn't video then. There wasn't the ability to upload an MP4. MP4s were just kind of, what are those? We don't really know. We actually had to do a GIF. And you can attest to this too. Making GIFs were hard. That was a hard thing to do.
I think it's still not that easy. I mean, I guess I don't have the setup anymore. Like for me, I have to take like a QuickTime grab. I have to throw it in iMovie. It's still a thing.
So I did want to touch on that a little bit because I'm sure a lot of people are really curious, like, how do we make these GIFs? What is that process? That's something I think.
Yeah, how do you do it, right?
I mean, I'm more than happy to talk about this. I'm sure Rob is as well.
Why don't you start?
Well, okay. Well, first of all, you can do the QuickTime thing. It's really easy. You just do that. That's, I think, actually even how everyone should do it on a Mac. Is you have QuickTime screen record, and then you can actually open up either Jiffy Cat has their own software called GIF Brewery. Stick it in that. You can crop the whole thing, send it out. You can export it directly as an MP4 straight to Jiffy Cat from there. Done. Easy. Jiffy Cat itself also has its own cropper. So you can actually just take any video and just upload it straight to Jiffy Cat, and you can then crop it on their site if you like as well. So that's really easy if you're a Mac.
Better than my process. I've learned something already. iMovie's like a little bit like it takes a while to load, and you have to like start a project, and that sounds faster.
So then the current process that I have, I mean, I want to talk about the original process because I think that's just hilarious too. I'll get to that in a second. Right now, for me, I just use OBS Studio. I have two monitors. I have the game going on my left that I want to do, and then I just have it going on my right. It's set up so that if I want something, I can just record it right then and there. I have an MP4. You can just drag that straight into Twitter. It's that. And also on Twitter, I actually think they might have removed it with new Twitter, which is really annoying. You could change the length of the videos. You actually that. What?
That was helpful.
I mean, I would have not known this. I mean, if there's a seasons going on right now, I would know it and I would be outraged. But at least now I get to like figure out, okay, I need to actually put it into Virtual Dub or whatever you want to use a video editing thing to crop it properly. I mean, Rob, are you doing something along those lines?
I am, except I'm using a PC, so it's a totally different thing. I'm using things, I mean, just things to grab screen grabs, as well as I do some online, I'll upload the video to like Easy GIF or something like that. Just make it really quick GIF. The more complicated stuff, I'll use like After Effects and Filmora to do a bunch of different things. And I taught myself all this stuff. So it's like I get bored really easily, and it's like an ADD thing. So I got to kind of always try to do something different. I did that Bauer rocket ship thing today, which is an After Effects thing, and then made a GIF out of it. So my process is kind of the same as far as making the pure GIF, but actually the video editing stuff has changed over the years.
Yeah, the overlay you do in Adobe?
I do. I'll do it either in Filmora or Adobe. It depends on what I'm doing. If I'm doing kind of the trying to sync the ball without making it more. Sometimes if you do a pure overlay, it can come out ugly. So I just try to sync the ball at release. And so you're not really seeing the mechanic differences, but you're seeing the pitch differences.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all anybody cares about. I mean, us geeks probably look at it and go, well, technically he's tipping his curveball because of blah, blah, blah. Right. I look at that, but I also like to show the movement and show why somebody might have swung at something. Everybody goes, why'd you swing at that ball in the dirt? Well, there's a reason usually why it did. And I know there's an article where Chris Bryant was looking at one of my overlays and said, that's exactly what it feels like. That's why I swing at that. I'm like, good. That's pretty cool.
Oh, that's fantastic. But yeah, I mean, you can use OBS as well, by the way. That's a PC program. It's usually used for streaming, but you can also just do a recording. And you can set up the entire canvas and how you want it to look before you even get it. So like if you just have a game going on, like I'm watching the World Series game or something or whatever it is, I have it going, and then cool, this was probably it's like a 3-2 pitch or something. I'm just going to record it as it's happening. If that's good, great. If it's not, I can just delete it and keep going.
I do that all the time. Yeah.
Right? Of course. Yeah. So I think the fun thing here, I mean, you and I had a secret tool for a moment. That was the greatest. We had the greatest gift ever given.
Oh man, that was so good.
I feel okay talking about it because, it's
gone now.
Yeah. This was essentially, I think I got it through Fangraphs.
Not sanctioned by Fangraphs.
Oh no one is. Yeah, it was just kind of one of those like.
But we all passed it.
Is it top secret thing?
Yes, this was. I called it the super secret link.
Yeah, it was great. It was one of those links that you're like, hey. Psst.
Yeah, it was essentially MLB had their video database open, and it actually and then someone made a little program for not program, just like a way to go through it and actually go by pitch on every day and give you the high quality video for that one pitch.
So it'd just be like pitch 1, pitch 2, pitch 3.
You tipped me on this really late.
Mile per hour.
Yeah, I think I showed. I
never saw that before. I'm like, well, that would have been nice then.
And the thing about it too is that very few people knew of this, and it wasn't like I still had MLB TV subscription and everything and all of that stuff, and it wasn't like detrimental. If anything, it was actually beneficial to MLB that we had this because we can create
made our writing better. We were able to tweet things out quicker.
It was literally the greatest gift ever. I remember the moment I saw it, and I was like, "Okay, what is this?" And I opened it up, and I shouted. I couldn't. I stood up. I went into my kitchen. I had this on my face. I was like, "Oh my god!" It was the greatest thing, and I had it for like a year and a half or so. And then it was gone in the off season. They essentially knew that was open, and they just took it down. And
I have some hope for Savant Search. It's not as quick. Maybe sometimes it takes a couple of days. But if you if you go on Savant and you need a video, you can find it. One thing that kind of sucks about it doesn't go back very far.
Yeah, right.
So I would love it to be like 5 years or something, but. It's like one or two.
MLB TV used to go back, and then every 2 years, all right, we're just gonna shave off another. Now it's like 2 years.
Yeah, it kind of sucks right now. That part does suck.
Why would you do that? Why would you do that? I want to look at all these fantastic guys now, but unfortunately not. So let's go back to the very beginning here. What was your process right when you started, Rob?
My process was mostly just screen grabbing stuff from MLB TV or going to YouTube. I mean, if I saw something that I was interested in, mostly old school pictures, I try to find games that were uploaded. There are some accounts at YouTube that kind of got squashed by MLB that I used to use to grab stuff because I was mostly caring more about mechanics back in the day, less about real time cool stuff. And then I could just go back. I mean, that was perfectly fine.
Right.
But yeah, it was pretty simple and rudimentary. The quality, if you look at that, kind of sucks. Man. Oh yeah.
Screen grabbing in 2014, not an advanced thing.
No.
It was really basic stuff. You don't have the encoding that you have now. All these ones on grabbing video is just so easy now. Back then it was terrible. Do you remember the program that you had? Because I literally went through 15 to find one that I was okay with, just okay with at the very least.
Yeah, it was. I'm trying to even think back. The issue you also had was size. You couldn't upload.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, so you would. What was it, like a 3 meg file or something like that.
It was very restrictive.
Yeah, and it sucked. I mean, you had to do the lowest quality. You're talking about like 10 frames a second or something like that. Just god awful stuff.
It was I kid you not, the program I found, it was called Free Screen Recorder. It was the most malware looking thing found on the internet, and it allowed, I think, for 20 frames per second, but it required such a ridiculous computer because it would be choppy if like any sort of hiccups happened with the CPU as you did it, which it would always happen right when the batter was swinging. So there's so many GIFs from like 2014 through 16 that were just as you're swinging, it's just a missing frame.
Plus, they stole all your passwords and stuff, so I actually have them. So I know everything you do. Yeah.
I knew it. No, it was worth it. It was worth it for all those GIFs in the beginning.
I haven't done anything with it, I promise.
And the other process, of course, and I know both of you definitely have my frustrations, is camera angles and how much they just ruin so much of the game. Like you can't. I remember even last year, maybe it was last year, maybe 2 years ago. It was 2018 World Series, Kershaw versus Sale, where they go to the Red Sox where they have like the best camera angle for lefties. Right, because that was off center to the left a little, but it's a Fox broadcast, and they decided to go to the right for that one. And it's just,
I think you and I were both screaming at that. Like I was like, "What the?" Like it's got. You might as well show them from the dugout or something. It's terrible.
Carson Sestouli actually for a while on Fangraphs would rank the best camera angles.
I did that article for him when he was like, "I don't want to do this anymore."
Well, and so what's great about that article though is when I was looking to find video for to illustrate something about a pitch, I would often go to that article first and be like, okay, that's right, Pittsburgh, have the places I like, then go search for the game on MLB that was in that game. So like even if it was like a Braves pitcher or something, when was he in Pittsburgh or when was he in this other place?
I totally agree.
And then, but I think since then, I think Pittsburgh has gotten bad. But like, there was a moment where like Pittsburgh was the best place because it was like right behind the pitcher, and you could see this and that. The worst thing is like when you have the like righty angle and a lefty throws a changeup with a ton of fade, and it just looks like it's like pop, and you're like, no, that's a great pitch. I promise you, that's a great pitch. Exactly. I know this image I made doesn't look that great, but it's a great pitch.
Right? I don't think a lot of people understand my excitement when Kershaw went to pitch in Miami for a game. Yeah. Because they had the best lefty camera angle, and there's a slider that he threw. It's just like, oh, I really get it now.
Yeah, that's
I actually see all of this movement.
Great. So when I was doing stuff for ESPN last year, I'd do exactly what Eno said. I'd find the game where they were playing in Miami or whatever, where I knew a camera angle was good, no matter who the pitcher was. So I can highlight the pitch movement and look for a game where they did well, try to find a sequence that I thought was interesting. But it makes a ton of difference. And lefties get freaking hosed. I mean, completely. Holy crap. Like changeups, I posted the top changeups of the year, and like one was a lefty. And there's no way it's just, you look at Ryu's changeup, which is nasty, and I can't find the one that looks good on a camera.
Right. It's so frustrating. The worst thing that happened to Aaron Nola is that he happens to pitch for the Phillies, which is the most right off center camera angle, and it just doesn't know justice.
Well, you can get some devastating sliders from lefties though, because it looks like it.
Right? Every fastball has the most horizontal movement on it. It's just not fair. That's ridiculous. Anyway, all right. So bring it back to more actual insight than just us having a good time talking about GIFs. Rob, so you're obviously involved with a lot of pitchers trying to get their name out. They're also hitters. What would you say is the best thing that a pitcher can do to help themselves right now?
So really the best thing is to, number one, throw really hard. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. That's going to open eyes. I mean, when I had Luke Little throwing 105 on a video, and like, yeah, you're not going to ignore a 6'9" guy throwing 105. It's just not going to happen. So lighten up a radar gun, somebody that has, great video, but also the gun in there and as much stats as you can. I mean, have a Rapsodo readout of how your pitch moved. Because if you're not throwing 105, someone throwing 90 with a really good spin rate, that's going to open eyes, especially from somebody who thinks they can teach mechanics. So if you can find somebody that's kind of undervalued, under the radar, a good coach can do a lot with that. So giving the coaches more information about you and your stuff I know there's so many people that don't have any idea how to market themselves. They'll just throw it, hey, having fun with my boys. Well, no one gives a crap if you're doing that as a coach. I want to know something about you, like how hard you're throwing would be useful, what class you're in, what you're looking for, but then kind of advanced metrics as much as you can do. If you can get a TrackMan or Rapsodo, that's freaking gold. So yeah, that type of stuff is really valuable for pitchers to get their names out there.
Yeah. My biggest takeaway from that is that if you're only throwing 90, just throw as hard as you can with terrible mechanics. They think that they can improve your mechanics, and then you'll throw 93.
Absolutely, that's exactly right. And so listen to us saying like you're throwing only 90.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, what the hell kind of talk is that? Like 90 is, I mean,
so ridiculous. Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
I threw like comfortably like 80, 81. I was really proud of that. And
I think I did a thing on the first round, the first 2 rounds of the draft. You got to be able to top 96.
Yeah. Wow. So I'm talking the other day. I was talking to Luke Little, the 105 guy, and he's like, if I get on if I'm only going 102, everybody's going to say that 105 was. I'm like, who the frick says only 102? like that's not a thing.
If you can sit 102, nice.
Yeah.
Not so bad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Only 102.
Only 102. And someday we're going to be talking about 102, like we just talked about 90.
Do you think
90 was the barrier?
Right.
Do you think so? I think we might be heading towards a little bit of something. I don't know. If you look at like sort of max velocity versus sitting velocity, I think a lot of our gains have come from pushing sitting closer to max. And the difference in like, it's hard to kind of get it right. But if you look at the sort of top 5% of max velocity, it's kind of been steady. Like if you think about it, like what number have you seen that you haven't seen? Like Joel Zumaya used to hit 102.
Right.
And then Hicks was hitting, 102, 103. Like that hasn't moved that much, but like everyone now is like throwing close to their max. And so I wonder if we're not getting closer to like we can't do much more than this.
Yeah. And I wonder to what extent I kind of agree and kind of maybe don't agree in that I think we can teach stuff a little better. And that, when I'm looking at a 6'9" guy who moves athletically, I don't know that that's that we've even seen that yet. So I think there are kind of our strength and conditioning stuff, our mechanics stuff. There is room to grow, but I think the game's also going to come back a little bit to stuff. When you see somebody, you can look at spin rates or, just any kind of advanced metrics. Deception. How do you measure deception? Have we ever figured that out? Like you can't do that on a TrackMan or Rapsodo. You can do that in results, but I don't know how to measure all that stuff. So at some point, command and stuff is still going to play. I mean, they're all just it's a continuum of things and making a batter's reaction shorter. So just like sinkers go out of style, it may be that velo, everybody's used to sitting back, and now you get somebody who throws you off. And I just don't know where the game's going. I think it's just, all bets are off.
So I wanted to follow up a little bit on, we're talking about what people can do, pitchers can to help. What is something that they commonly do to fail? I know you said, I'm with my boys and nobody cares. But what are other elements that might be pitfalls that they, traps that they should be avoiding?
So in my view, it is listening to the expert just because he lives around you, the neighborhood expert, the guy that pitched in the minor leagues or major leagues that says he knows what he's doing, that hasn't evolved. The best thing that we can do is the stuff that we're talking about here, which is learning and evolving with the time. I don't ever want to grow stale in what I do. You don't want to, nobody here wants to do that. But a lot of players, they're like, well, back in my day, this was successful. This is what I did. And then they pass that down and it may not work for somebody. So limiting yourself to your geography or just that guy that was successful in what he did, I think is what players, a pitfall that they typically fall into. And parents fall into that.
Yeah, definitely.
I think there's something really interesting about psychology and the relationship. Like, so for a coach, like if you're looking for a coach, a lot of times you're looking for someone who seems like they know what they're talking about. And so you're looking for someone that has expertise. And the way that people kind of translate that to marketing themselves as coaches in the past has often been like, I know this is the way, 3 steps to velocity. Here I am. I'm the velo king. I'm this. I'm whatever. I'm the pain guy. Ugh.
Dude,
and like,
come on, why did you go there? Oh,
but he illustrates to me a really important thing: false certitude.
Right.
And what you really need to watch out from, why I was drawn to Kyle was not everything he knew; it was everything that he admitted he didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
And that he was like, I'm engaged in the process of trying to find out. And he's like, if you have an interesting question for me, I don't know the answer, let's go find out. Let's like, I've asked him things. He's been like, okay. And then he'll like, Driveline will do a thing, like they just did a study about like, if you hold the bat with your pinky off, or you choke up, or if you have a split handle, what does it actually do? And they could actually say, well, this has more rotational velocity. This one is quicker time to contact. This one has more bat speed, like when the whole stuff with the Astros was going down, I was doing my best to like, this is what I kind of see in the numbers. But Driveline went and did a study where they actually did some banging and were like, this is what it does. It kind of helps it kind of helps you line up your attack angle to hit a breaking ball better, to know a breaking ball is coming. That's how knowing what's coming helps. But so I would just say, like, if I was a parent or a kid that was like evaluating coaches around me, or evaluating people that I might talk to, I might ask them something like, what do you not know? What do you not know? What do you and also like watch them, maybe go watch them coach. Do they say the same thing to everyone? Because that's not right. That's not good coaching, because it's not going to work. We all have different bodies. And like, even if there are, like, I talked to Matt Lyle about hitting, and I was like, dude, there can't be one way to hit the ball. And he's like, no, there are things that we can look for. We want a sequence in this order. We want to do this. We want to do this. There are some truths, but the way that I get you to those truths is not the same for everybody. Kevin Euclid would tell me, I think chop down on the ball. And I don't think that I'm chopping down on the ball, but because I have an uppercut swing, like, chopping down on the ball gets me to the point of contact faster. Right. So don't tell everybody, never say chop down on the ball. It might actually help some people. Cody Bellinger said, I think about chopping down on the ball, and I know that makes people freak out, but look at my swing. I've got a crazy uppercut swing. So when I think chopping down on the ball, it makes everything a little bit faster. And like, it levels things out for me a little bit. So, what do you not know? And do you tell the same thing to everybody? That's the kind of thing that I want to see when I'm evaluating coach.
Yeah, that chopping down the ball. I mean, your boy Christian Yelich had a fantastic video about it, about Barry Bonds having a drill about chopping down the ball, and that actually was part of his transition to becoming the home run master that he is now. So I love exactly what you're talking about with that.
So the point is, I mean, that's a feel thing. It's not they feel like they're doing that, and feel is different for everybody. That's I was just talking to somebody about that yesterday. That's a cue that's going to be different for everybody. Just like mental game stuff. You have Corey Kluber and Max Scherzer. They're totally different on the mound. They're both really successful. One's a robot and one is over the top. But you can't say one's right. But so how do you teach the mental game to somebody? Do you say, be like Max Scherzer? I tried to get my kid. I was like, yeah, I want you to have that competitiveness like Scherzer. Get up there. And it made him go out of control. And he realized he had to be like stone-faced and just go through his checklist of things that he had to do. There's no one size fits all in anything. And overall, what Eno said, 100% agree. The smartest people the smartest people I know don't think they're smart. I mean, because you get to a level where you don't know things, and you're comfortable with that, and you're comfortable with your process to find them out. So the people that think they're smart and think they know everything, there goes your growth mentality, and there goes your ability to actually be a good coach.
Great. All right. So, Eno, you've talked to so many pitchers in the majors. What would you call your most surprising interview?
I have so I try not to like come with preconceptions, but I never know. Like I saw this as like a thing that I should think about it. You sent some questions ahead, and the different things came to mind. Like John Means, I didn't know how analytics forward the Orioles were. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know how much the new regime had taken place yet. So when I went up to John Means, I like had some questions about straight changeups. And there was this moment where I said to him, John, I'm not sure if this is like, if you're going to be mad about this, or if you're going to agree with me, or this is going to end the interview. But I was like, I think of one name when I see your changeup. And I was like, can we do like 1, 2, 3 and say the name at the same time? And he was like, sure. And I was like, 1, 2, 3, Marco Estrada. And he was like, yes, it's the Marco Estrada straight change. I don't know how I got it, but and then he ran me through the process of talking to his pitching coordinator and being like, going through different cues to kind of try and achieve something with the changeup, and how one of those cues just stuck. And all of a sudden he was throwing this crazy straight change. And so that was a surprising interview. And I've had others ones a little bit like that, where more and more, the kids are more into analytics. But the number one that I can think of, so I come over to Justin Verlander, and I've got my ball. I actually, as a writer, I'm pretty much the only one that has a ball. I always have a ball. And I'm playing around with it, and it's just giving me something to do. When you're in a ride in the clubhouse, you're doing nothing for so long. So I'm just throwing the ball around. And I come up to Verlander, and I said something about, you got these, you like kind of transitioned to a hard slider. He was with Detroit at the time. I was like, your slider's getting harder. Is this a grip thing? And I show him the ball, and he looks at the ball and he goes, this ball is weird. I'm like, yeah, it's a 1981 Bill White. It's not juiced. And he's like, what did you say? And I'm like, it's not one of the current balls that is probably juiced. He goes, wait here. And I'm like, what the fuck is about to happen? He runs over to the other side of the clubhouse, and he's like gathering people, and I'm like, oh no. I'm thinking maybe I got like a Hosmer situation going down. Maybe this is not good. And he goes, hey, come over here. And I'm like, oh no. And I standing in front of, he's now assembled the entire lineup, the starting lineup, the hitters. And he's standing there next to the entire starting lineup for the hitters. And he goes, tell them what you told me.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, no, the hitters? I can't say it to the hitters. Oh God, you're killing me, Justin, dude.
Oh my God.
And so I had to kind of go through and try to just be like, well, the research says, which is a tactic that I do often, is I create an extra character in the room, the numbers, the stats, the research. And so the numbers can be wrong. The research can be wrong. It's not me. That's just this faceless character over here called stats. And I was like, well, the research says the ball is there's less drag. It's appearing at the plate faster at the same velocities, that sort of deal. There's less drag on the ball, which means more lift, means going further. And we're talking about the order of 3 to 5 feet. And Justin Verlander's like, I told you. And he's just hopping around and Ian Kinsler's like, well, have they thought about this? Have they corrected for this? And I'm like, yeah, if you do it with the drag coefficient, you kind of, it's, and then I think I forget who else was he's like, yeah, but we're all trying to lift the ball more. And I'm like, yeah, but even at the same launch angles, it's going further,
Oh my God.
The hitters didn't want to hear it.
It's like Kinsler pulling out.
Told you.
The whiteboard coming. Well, if you do the drag coefficient this way, it's gonna.
Oh man, I definitely had to rely on the analytics and it's not me. I'm not saying that
Right. Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. I thought you were gonna bring up the fact of Justin Verlander throwing a slider a certain spot so that the Rawlings logo doesn't show up.
Oh my God.
I was waiting for you to say a Greinke story too.
Yeah.
but it does. It's not as surprising anymore, just because I've talked to him so many times. Like, you know, he'll like text me and be like, "Did you ever think about this?" And now I have to go research it for Zach. You know, like I'm trying right now. Huh?
That's the best text. That's like the dream of Zach Greinke.
That's great.
Think about this.
Well, it's but it's also not as great when I'm like, hey Zach, I'm doing a story about this. Could you like tell me something, like give me a quote or just put me in the right direction?
I gotcha.
And then there's like no answer for 3 months. And then I text back and I'll say something like, well, don't worry about that. And he goes, well, I just didn't think it was interesting. So, all right, Zach, I got it.
Yeah, what are you going to do with that?
As long as I'm interesting, I'm in your good graces. As long as I'm not, that's all right. Hey, man, these guys are stars, and I've gotten over the whole, like, you know, I can't have an ego. Like, you know, they Joey Votto once critiqued my clubhouse presence, and he said that, Eno talks to too many people, and he talks too loud. And at first I was like, man, fuck Joey Votto. Oh, sorry. Another one. And but
there goes your PG-13 rating.
Yeah. I was like, he's right. You know, he's right, because I need to treat these guys like stars. I need to make them feel like stars. And I can't be talking so loud that like we're broadcasting our conversation. They don't want to have a conversation with me that now every other player is listening to.
Right. Oh, that's all fantastic. Wow. Thank you. So to your side, Rob, obviously you've had so many players follow you. I have 2 questions about that. One, who was like the follow that made you go, oh man, this is crazy. Like the first one that was just amazing. And now who do you want to follow you that doesn't already?
So really the first one that kind of jumped out at me when I tell a story is Billy Wagner followed me early on, and I started talking to him about Randy Johnson's mechanics. And I said, Randy didn't use his lower half very well. And Wagner said, no, he did. I was like, I used to, and I said, I showed him video of it. And he's like, wow, you're right. He didn't. And like, you played with him. You were he pitched on the same team with you for a little bit. But yeah, he realized that wasn't the case. So that was kind of cool. I was thinking of Eno's thing where so I was at dinner with my wife a couple months ago, and she's like, why are you on your phone? And I'm like, DMing with you, Darvish. And and she was like, well, put your phone down. I'm like, I mean, I can't do that right now.
Talk about chicken. I mean,
yeah, right, exactly. That's freaking legend, that dude.
Oh my god.
So the person I'd love to follow, I am a huge Max Scherzer fan. I mean, I want a fat head of him back over here. That would be awesome. I think I was on Pedro or Greg Maddux would be kind of cool, just historically. But yeah, I mean, those 3 would be pretty way high up there.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right, I want to have some more fun here. Who would you say is your favorite player to watch in the game?
I kind of have a soft spot for like flawed but like super athletic people, and like that are like in the process of figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
So like Tatis Jr., like Ozzy Albies, like huge energy, very athletic, a little bit raw. And will they turn that corner to becoming like superstars, or will they remain flawed? Like, will they, like Javier Baez, like will they turn into Javier Baez, or will it be something else?
Right.
So like those are the types of players. So like Javier Baez, yes. So Javier Baez is like what I'm hoping for. Mm-hmm. But I also like the idea of like, oh, I've been watching Tatis and Albies really, really closely from the beginning, and I was really sure that they would turn into Baez. So like kind of that class is those are like those 3 are my favorite. And what's funny too is because when I was growing up, like the first idea I ever had was like, boring, great plate discipline, like, great walk rate, low strikeout rate, like, Chipper Jones, David Wright, solid all the time, hardworking, face of the franchise type, those types. I was always into like, they need to have like a 10% walk rate before I will fall in love. Frank Thomas, you know what I mean? Like they needed to have that. But since I've like sort of reevaluated and been like, no, athleticism is really important. And if you can start with that athleticism and then add those skills on top of it, that's how you get the most exciting stars to me. So that's why I'm like, kind of like, will Albies ever be as great from both sides of the plate as he is, from one? Will Tatis like stop airmailing it to first?
Right.
If he does, like, whoa, it could get really exciting.
Those are great choices. I think an element that you really like there is there has to be a flaw so that you get more excited when they succeed.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why it's so much fun to watch them. Like, for example, for me, it's like Andrew Heaney. I just love Andrew Heaney because when he executes right, it's just so unbeatable. But then there are times it's like, oh, why'd you throw that bad changeup? And now it's a one shot. I know you can do this. So I mean those are the kind of guys that I absolutely love. What about
and from a pitching standpoint, actually, I have to put some pictures in, I guess. Haney is really interesting to me too because the thing that I really enjoy watching are the like unicorn pitches or very rare pitches. And Haney has kind of like this weird high spin, low arm slot, medium ride, like kind of two-seamer, but not a sinker and not a four-seamer pitch that's like fairly rare. Like there's not a lot of people throwing like them, probably because earlier in their career, somebody said, no, this needs to be a sinker or this needs to be a four-seam, not whatever this is. And I think of like Brandon Woodruff's fastball, which is not necessarily a four-seam. It's just plenty awesome. So I even like a Jarrell Cotton changeup, these things that like nobody else throws. Those are kind of my favorite pitches to watch.
Oh man, so that Heaney sinker, it's classified as one. It have the 12th highest. Majeda will correct me tomorrow because he's probably going to talk about him in his thing. But I believe it was the 12th highest spin rate of all four-seamers if it were a four-seamer.
Yeah, exactly.
It's ridiculous. So then it's like we talk about sinkers, where do you get your whiffs and stuff? And all of a sudden Heaney's the one that's actually doing it up effectively. And it's like, well, that's a two-seamer or a sinker. It's not supposed to do that, but it does because it's amazing. And Jarrell Cotton's changeup, man, that's such a good pick.
That's a great pitch.
Pronation of it.
I think I think hitters must be able to see this or something.
I don't know because Trevor Richards does that too. I mean, they both have that big pronation changeup.
Yeah. So yeah, for you, Rob, who would it be?
Kim Tae-hoon for the Wyverns because that's the only baseball I can watch right now. So. And he's the happiest pitcher on earth. I've tweeted him a lot because he just makes my day. In MLB, guys, I mean, I love the crazy dudes. Max Scherzer, just because any day you'll see him lose his mind, but Amir Garrett as well. Any dude that's going to fight the opposing dugout, I love him. And yeah. I mean, how do you not want to watch every single time he's on the bump?
Oh, those are great picks. I mean, I will always say I absolutely adore Aaron Nola hitting the corner with two-seamers. I mean, to be able to do that, slinging it from the lower arm angle a bit, and just with such accuracy as it comes back.
Like the Kluber front door two-seam.
Right. Because it's not a strike for 95% of the way until that last moment. And it's just, that's so beautiful.
So along those lines, so you mentioned the front door two-seamer, Kluber two-seamer. I heard the Cressy interview with Kluber where Kluber said that's the only way he can locate his two-seamer. When he tries to throw kind of on the outside corner, he's not able to do it. And he was asking for advice. And I'm like, Corey Kluber's asking other pitchers for advice on his two-seamer. That's amazing to me that kind of where we started, which is pitchers are kind of their own club. And they all get together and share things to make everybody, because you're the only guy out there. Everybody's watching you. So it's kind of this club, even if you're on an opposing team.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, it is interesting about Kluber because, I mean, he has those two unbelievable breaking pitches. I guess we're going to call him a cutter and a slider, maybe. I mean, does he even really know what those are?
Slider and curve.
Is it?
See,
yeah.
He says a break. Wait, I think you were the one.
I think I'm good with that too. But it's like, I don't know. We can't decide. But,
I call it a slider typically.
I remember, I think maybe it was even your article, where he was talking about like 3 different variations of the breaking ball itself.
Yeah. He just calls it. He's like, it's Kluber. He's like breaking ball.
Right. So then that's like, okay, that one is the breaking ball. The other one, I guess, is a cutter. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I understand though.
I wonder, pitchers say like a lot of times that you have better command arm side, just because you're kind of like that's like your fastball. You're kind of just like, throwing your fastball. You got to be able to throw it inside to a righty. Like you just got to have that. And I wonder if the fact that he's such a breaking ball guy and he's on the outside, if that's somehow related to the only way that he can get the 2-seamer command is actually the other way, because he kind of maybe gets the right pronation when he kind of follows that release point out. I don't know.
It's a throwing to dead spaces issue too. When you can aim it at something versus you have to then approximate where you're throwing it. And so the Cressy thing's really interesting. If you go listen to
so he can aim it at their front hip.
That's right.
As opposed to aiming at and he does that. Yeah, he was telling me that for his breaking ball, he has to imagine where it starts to break. Exactly. So he has to like imagine he's throwing it 12 inches this way, and then it'll do the rest.
So then, I mean, why wouldn't you just tell the catcher then, like, set up 6 feet away? I mean, that's what I would do back in high school and stuff. It's like, I don't want you over the plate. I want you out there. That's where I'm aiming it.
Stroman did that with his sinker.
And then
I noticed. Yep.
We'll give you the call if you come back to the plate then, right?
Yep, exactly.
Oh, man. All right. I know we are going a little bit over. I talked too fast about it. We're okay. We're going to keep going for a little bit. On the same topic, I mean, we kind of did it anyway, but I'm just curious. Do you have a favorite type of pitch? Just like this guy's fastball, this guy's changeup, this guy's breaking ball. I know we touched on it a little bit. Do you have any other favorites in there?
Who's going first? Me?
You go ahead.
Yeah, go take it.
I think it's a changeup, kind of actually. I like how the breaking balls are like this whole spectrum, but there's like this thing that like pitchers are always chasing a changeup, and like Straley going through 17 grips, and like Kyle Loesch throwing like a Vulcan. You get weirder grips. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a grips guy, right? But I can sort of picture the grips they're trying to gun through. Paddock has kind of like an almost Vulcan, and you're kind of like you're doing weird things with your hand. And then also, I think it's like a super unnatural movement almost in a way to see a ball kind of do and then like just like take off and go the other direction. When someone throws a curveball, it's like my mind can follow it easier. It's like, oh yeah, it went like that, But I love that. I love and a power changeup, like a Greinke power changeup. Whoo, be still my beating heart.
I still don't fully understand those. I mean, I grasp that most of the time, like Felix's was like kind of like a Fosh one, essentially. As he came out, he actually, Sonny Gray was throwing a decent amount of that.
Greinke won't show me his grip, man.
But it's got to be though. It's a splitter grip that isn't he's not taking as much off of a splitter.
Maybe like a Lincecum Fosh kind of like.
Yeah, exactly.
Fingers are on it.
That's the only way I can imagine that you're getting that much drop at the same speed as your fastball. It just doesn't make sense otherwise.
Although Zach Greinke doesn't make sense anyway. So.
I would be interested in comparing grips between Marcus Stroman's sinker and Greinke's power change, because they're both like fairly protective of them. They both, I think, like have like a grip based, like the movement comes from the grip, and they basically don't do much mechanics wise. And so I wonder, and like how dissimilar are the pitches? You're talking about like 88-mile-an-hour pitches that go right into the dirt.
Great. So Stroman and I are buds, and he won't show me his. I practiced him over and over again. I slowed it down where he's like, "Don't give away my secrets," because it's a weird spin.
Though. I thought I knew it.
His spin. No, he's got right. The grip itself He's got this weird finger, but he also puts a spin on it that's not natural.
So I think what he's doing, I mean, there is this, which I actually have not seen anyone do for understandable reasons, because it's not good for your arm necessarily. I used to essentially, if you do like the one seam grip, but you're actually putting pressure on the middle finger, not down to the right as you'd expect, but to the left.
Right.
Essentially, you're creating a reverse cutter.
Right.
Instead of the cutter where you come off on the right side of the ball,
Right.
You're doing it the other way. So actually, I would do it like two seamer like this, and then with my index finger and both my middle finger just pushing off that way on release, and that's how I would get that movement back. I didn't know anything about the laminar flow, and I'm supposed to get the arm angle like this going across. Like I didn't know that. I just thought, oh, this is the grip. Oh, that must be what they're doing. So I imagine. I mean, I've seen Stroman do this. I've seen it with this, and all I can think of is, oh, it's this middle finger coming off to the left to get that extra spin going that direction.
It's almost like if you think about a backup slider too, is what I thought. It's like I've broken down that spin so many times, and my mind kind of doesn't process it. You mentioned laminar flow. I'm just thinking about things in the future where the game is kind of going. I don't know if you guys follow Barton Smith.
I was going to say seam shifted weight.
Yeah, exactly. So I found him like way back when he was giving this presentation about that. And I was like, but what you're saying goes against the laminar flow stuff. And by the way, I'm Pitching Ninja. And he's like, oh yeah, I know who you are. And so I uncovered all this stuff. And dude is at the cusp of really the next thing where there is a science behind it. We all look at these numbers as a science, but there's like real science behind the ball and airflow around the ball, that the laminar flow stuff has kind of been a little disproven. And it's more about the seam shifted wake, I think. And who knows if that's the end all of it. But there are all pitches that we haven't even invented yet. That if you look at the science behind it, you may be able to do cool stuff. Yeah, I know, it's amazing actually.
So I mean, like the scuff ball, essentially the one seam is something along those lines, of course. All right, so I want to do one last question for each of you guys. Let's go with first to you, Rob. Who do you think you have gift the most?
I mean, I keep mentioning Scherzer, but it's probably Scherzer just because it's number one, his pitches. I mean, I love his changeup, love his slider. But number two, the amount of times he loses his shit on the mound is kind of fun. And I just like that. So I would imagine it's him. Stroh gets a lot too, just because of his variations of his mechanics, his messing with timing, and his stuff is nasty. So probably those two is my guess.
I mean, Stroh slider, there was it's unreal when that works on a given day.
Absolutely.
It's like Chaz Rose all of a sudden.
Right.
How did that work?
He threw one of the nastiest ones ever. Like in one game, I think he did it twice where they were just against, maybe it was against the Astros back.
I think it was against Correa.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Oh man, it was just how is this? How are you doing that? It's so much fun, man. I miss it so much. That feeling of just.
Have you not been watching the KBO stuff at all? Are you vacationing? Are you not watching KBO stuff? What's up?
Oh, no, we're doing KBO stuff.
Okay.
I mean, as much as I want it to be the same, there's just something.
Oh, it's not the same, but it's fun in a different way.
Oh yeah, of course.
And I've been slave to like the ESPN broadcast, so it's kind of hard to like either follow a team or follow a player because it always seems like it's a different team on, and it's on at weird times and stuff. So
that makes a lot of sense. Kia Tigers, let's go. That's how we do it.
Lottie Giants, baby.
Yeah, I'm a Giants guy too.
I know. I want to. We did the whole randomizer thing. And I was like, all right, Kia Tigers, let's go. But
whatever the randomizer says, we gotta do.
Then we talked to Australia. I'm like, but that's the Giant, and we got Kim, and then it's just like, okay, it's fine. Last
also,
question.
Hank Conger is over there, dude. I love Hank Conger.
Oh my god. All right, Eno, who would you like to talk to the most in the majors?
He's talked to everybody.
I know, but there's got to be someone that's a basic.
Well, when you were talking about like some old school guys like Pedro, like I've talked to Pedro, but I don't think I've like done an interview with Pedro. And I've talked to Randy Johnson, but it was like 5 minutes long, and he kept giving me the stink eye. So, like
you do not want the Randy Johnson stink eye.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah, but I was like,
you not people. You don't like me. I'm gonna stop talking to you, I think.
We just looked at
Pedro though is like,
photo
you
of you so
know,
we forget, right?
Pedro's really nice. You know, one thing that I've had trouble with is with Japanese pitchers. Like I've had some good interactions with Kenta Maeda. I did a good interview with Hisashi Iwakuma that he told me about like the difference in ball and like why people come over and throw splitters over here or throw more changeups over here because the ball's different. But I think the one that I haven't really done that I really love to is Yu Darvish, because I could do like a killer. Like I have this, it's called a MOOC. It's like a magazine book. It's like a Japanese phenomenon, but it has all of his grips in it, and he kind of goes through it. And I've been like, I've had this idea that I'm going to show him the MOOC, and then we're going to do our own like grips based interview. And because he's had so many different pitches, and he like just picked up the knuckle curve the other day, and like, you know,
and it was filthy.
And it was filthy. So I kind of, I don't know why it hasn't happened necessarily. Sometimes it has to do with like, oh, you know, I'm not a big enough stature often for PR to like go get the person, you know. So like I can't come and be like, hey, you know, Eno's in town today. Can you go get you for him? No, nobody cares. Nobody gives a damn. So and then on top of that, when you have when you have the, you know, need to get a translator, sometimes it's dicey. So I just haven't gotten Yu Darvish, and I think I would love to.
He is the funniest freaking dude too.
I love that guy so much.
Yeah, I mean he's hilarious. And actually the reason why I got talking with him is because I mislabeled his pitches so many times that he'd correct me. And there was one where he's just like, all right, I'm not going to do this publicly. I'm just going to DM you and tell you that you're wrong. I'm like, all right, thanks.
Because the splitters sometimes look like breaking balls for sure.
That's right. Because it can go either way. And I'm looking at it going, I thought it was a slider and it wasn't. So, but he's got so many pitches that I give up. I'm just calling Yu Darvish pitch and whatever.
I mean, his cutter moves like a standard slider, then his slider moves like a what the hell is that slider?
Right.
Yeah. Right.
He's
very, very confusing. But anyway, all right. This has been incredible. I cannot thank the two of you enough for coming on for this. This is just amazing. Thanks so much, Rob, for being a part of PitchCon.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for doing it, man. It's
awesome.
It's great that you're putting together this money and for a good cause, and it's a marathon, man. So
hey, we got another day left. This is fantastic. I'm excited.
Drink some lemon tea tonight.
So much. But I will say this: at one point, what we have to do, figure out some way to all be one place and figure out, like, take video of us trying to pitch. I think.
Oh God, help!
Greatest thing ever.
Yeah, or the worst thing.
We will
I topped out at like 71. So
71's impressive.
Yeah, my arm doesn't work anymore. Like I was taking this downtime to just, go over my own mechanics, and I was like, it hurts too freaking much the next day. It's god awful. Now I will drink with Eno.
It did hurt.
Yeah, the beers are on you, my man.
Yes, I'll bring the beers. What's funny too, though, is that like when I was doing it, all I could do was be like, okay, load the scap and turn, run the body around and slam that front before down and it was all about velocity. And I was talking to Michael Lorenzen recently. He's like, when I throw my cutter and it's not my slider, I just hold the finger on it like a half second longer. And I'm like, I couldn't think about any of that. What are you talking about? I had no idea where the balls were going. All I could think about was trying to throw for more velocity.
Right? Oh, man. All right, guys. I got to kick you off now, but really, thank you so much.